Hi, church. I'm in the art room at the school where I work, and above me on the wall, although you can't see it right now, it says, "We are God's masterpiece." And that's because the teacher in this room likes to remind the students that they are creations of God, that they are unique, and that they are as much a masterpiece as any of the artworks that they study, that God has created them, as Psalm 139 says, that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that we are God's masterpiece comes from the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 10, where just after Paul has talked about the fact that we are saved by faith, by grace through faith, that it's not something of ourselves, it's not based on works, it's based on what God has done. Then he goes on in verse 10 to say, "For we are his workmanship," or his masterpiece, "created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we would walk in them." And the thing that Paul is pointing out in that verse is not only are we God's workmanship, not only are we his masterpiece, not only are we fearfully and wonderfully made, but that we are a masterpiece that has a purpose. We are God's workmanship with a purpose and a plan. We are fearfully and wonderfully made so that we would do the good works that God had prepared before we were even born for us to do. And that's something else that we like to communicate to our students, that they were created with a purpose, that God has a plan for them, that God has things that they are to do in their life, things that he has planned for them to do. And those are good works. And that's true for each one of us. And so what I would encourage you today, first of all, as you look in the mirror, remind yourself that you are God's masterpiece, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are not an accident, that God has a purpose and a plan for you. And then I would encourage us to think about, what are the good works that God has planned for me to do today? That requires that we are observant. It requires that we listen to those around us and observe the situations that are going on. It requires that we act with intention. We don't often fall into accidental good works, but that we are intentional about it, that we do more than random acts of kindness, that we do intentional acts of kindness, and that then we get to the end of our day and we reflect and say, what were the good works that I did today that God had planned for me? Who were the people that he put in my life that I was able to minister to, that I was able to share with, that I was able to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit to? So remember, you are God's masterpiece, but not just to hang on a wall and look pretty. You are God's masterpiece, created to do good works, which he had planned even before you were born.